Hello and welcome back to yet another episode of my FRC series. And, well, to be fair, you're in for a good one here because this is going to be some seriously tough racing, as we're going to be directly up against TX3 Lightning, who's one of the best in the world. He's actually a driver that when I started Forza, he was right up there. In many ways, I looked up to him as one of the titans of the esport. But today we're starting pole, as you can see, and this is going to be a proper test to see whether I can hold my nerve and retain first position in a critical must-win match. Now, Lightning is one of those players that, unlike Rich, who you had seen in the last episode, Lightning is one to force overtakes a lot more, and so this, from a defensive point of view, was going to be a lot harder to retain my position. But I knew that, and thank goodness Silverstone is probably, on the broadcast it's definitely my favourite, but in my opinion it's one of my favourite tracks, probably my favourite track of all time to drive around. I've got a lot of experience around here and I know how to defend, but retaining a competitive speed whilst also defending is really not very easy whatsoever. And so I was really looking forward to this race, to be honest, because I felt that this was finally an opportunity just to show, whilst we're in equal cars, that I've got easily enough pace to win a race up against such a fast driver like this. And coming through Cops, it's all looking nice, but as you can see, Lightning is right on us. He's just 0.1 seconds behind, and like in the last episode, Maggots and Beckett's was listed as one of the toughest corners to not corner cut, and as you can see, it's super tight through here. And I remember that my biggest concern whilst coming around Silverstone was to just stay away from the curbs at Maggots and Beckett's and make sure that I don't get any corner cutting penalties. And throughout this race, I think that section of track was probably the one, as we go a little bit wide through Stowe, we actually didn't get that good of an exit at all, and Lightning's now right behind us, thinking about a move, but we managed to get on the apex well, and already we're coming under attack. You can already kind of see that Lightning is more of a driver to initiate those moves, whereas Rich was really in Suzuka in the last episode. He was very much happy to just stick behind, and that was really that. He wasn't going to put any rash overtakes on at all. But we're actually now, we've pulled a little bit of a gap to Lightning. We've pulled 0.7 seconds, and so that was relaxing, and it was now time, as far as I was concerned, to get into more of a groove from this point onwards. Skipping on a tiny bit though into the lap, and you can see that gap has already come down, as Brooklands and Luffield didn't go the strongest, but this is really where the problem comes up with Maggots and Beckett's. And I'm really just trying not to corner cut, and oh my word, that was so close there, with nearly coming into the apex a bit too early. It would have gotten a corner cutting penalty, so I had to back out, return back in, if that makes sense, and then as a result Lightning had a run. Luckily though, again, I knew how to defend here, so I was able just to put it straight on that curb, and literally there is nothing at all that Lightning could do. But yeah, the power at the end of the day, when I'm in P1, the power is all in the attacker's hands, because I'm the one that's under pressure here. He has nothing to lose, but I have everything to lose. And so it's a lot easier for him to push, especially with my reference points that I'm setting out just from driving ahead of him anyway. And so it's a lot easier for him to push as Tiku's pitting, which is quite interesting. I don't know why. I think there must have been an incident. But it's a lot easier for him to push as he's in P2, as he literally just doesn't have anything at all to lose. And so we were still just holding him back. I had to, it was a lot harder for me to judge in my position how much whether to push, as if I push too hard I could get penalties, but if I don't push enough then Lightning's just going to be able to attack me constantly, which obviously isn't too good. But this is the corner here. I lost time to Lightning in the past on the last lap. This time a little bit of a slide, but not too bad. But if we look at the delta at the bottom left, it is coming down a tiny bit, so Lightning did get a better exit. Basically, he just didn't slide as I did. And now Cops, another really, really tricky corner to take quickly without corner cutting or extending. And he's gained a little bit more on me there. Again, I think it is just because I'm a reference ahead. He has me to work off of as well. But this, again, oh, so close. It is unbelievable. It is actually mildly painful to watch that back as Lightning has yet another run on us. And this is a proper run now. He's actually ahead coming into Stowe. But again, I know what I'm doing here. Let's put it that way, as I very aggressively shut the door on him, which is totally fair. But I knew that he was terrified, basically, because of the way that FRR works. I knew that he was scared of the outside, so I decided to push him as close to the outside of the track as I could before I was just basically punting him off. And that was a very firm and aggressive way to retain that lead. But Lightning here, if I remember correctly, is now all over the back of us. And the question is now, when will he send it? And there he goes. What a move, to be fair. That was a stupid move from Lightning in the best way, to be fair. That was a really good send. But this, right there, did you see that? Because I know I did, and that's a second worth of penalty. And now this is what really wasn't picked up on the broadcast whatsoever, because Lightning now has a 1 second penalty because of that tiny corner cut after his move. And that was the biggest relief, because I thought that I was kind of screwed at this point, to be honest, because at the end of the day, Lightning had just pulled off a really nice move on me, and I barely had a gap left open, but he managed to exploit it perfectly. And now he's gone and gotten himself a penalty. So all I have to do is just stick with the back of him, and I've won. And this is the big thing that I tried to link to in the last race at Suzuka. Penalties are very, very powerful now. And at the end of the day, on the broadcast, it was all just, oh my word, Lightning is in P1. But in reality, he's not, basically, but he is quick. And the question was at this point, can I keep up to him with his 1 second gap? And to be honest, he was very, very quick. So I changed my mindset at this point completely, and I went from thinking about how to back Lightning up to just full guns blazing. And I think you can see even the way I tackle these curves now, it's so much more confident in the lines I'm taking. I'm taking a lot more risk now because I need to, because I know Lightning is going to be taking loads of risks to get away. And the pace now, you can see in that last sector I gained on my delta 5/10, which is ridiculous. There's a lot of time on display here, as we weren't going particularly slowly before, but now it's really, really coming up. And that's evidence there of the kind of driving styles that you can have now. Arguably, I think maybe I was even going a bit too slowly, but yeah, we'll have to see. But yeah, so far, like, we've managed to retain the gap to Lightning nicely. We're on lap 5, so we only have to manage this gap now for 2 more laps. But to be fair, he was very, very quick, and so although I'm on the back of him again now, I was thinking forward to this point at Cops and also Maggots and Beckett's, and his level of commitment was very risky, and he was getting away with it again and again and again. So he's obviously got some lines that he really likes. Even there, you can see, oh my word, like that is as close as it gets, and that is you can hear in my voice, it is actual pain, because if I was a millimetre more over that line, that would have been a penalty, and that would have been my victory out of the equation completely. And so you can see again, I must have been cacking myself over the fact that I got so close to that line at Cops, and Lightning has already pulled out 3/10 in just that sector alone. And even though we're up on our delta as well, so we are like driving very well, but Lightning is still pulling away. And it was at this point where I was looking at it and I was like, okay, this is not good. Like, Lightning's ahead. Unless he makes some big mistakes, he's going to probably continue driving at this pace. and I can only afford in the next 2 laps to muck up like that, like maggots and beckets. I can only afford to muck it up once more, or that is that. Lightning's out of the barrier, and you could see just how much he's pushing to get away. But luckily, I feel that Sector 1, I was actually better at Sector 1, I think. But I feel like he was better at the middle sector on the whole, and you know, it just wasn't ideal, as now the delta is going up to 0.7 seconds. It's stupidly close now to the second mark, and at this point, you know, it was, you know, full guns blazing. You've got a bit of tyre wear on the front, which I actually find on Forza, when you get tyre wear, it actually makes the car sometimes faster. It doesn't really make any sense, but it's like it grips more. It's really weird. It's like the weight changes or something. But this was it now. Coming into Cops, we can afford to not really lose any more time to Lightning. So we take Cops pretty well, actually, but he's still gaining. And so I've only got 2 tenths to lose, and this is where I always lose time to him, basically. And so we commit. We take some proper commitment through there, and we do it fairly nicely. But our final exit onto the hangar straight was not ideal, and Lightning is now 0.9 seconds ahead. So he's just a tenth away from victory, and this is almost embarrassing, really. He's now 1.1 seconds ahead, but I think that's because he just took loads of overspeed into stay. He's now actually a full second ahead, so I take that back as we get onto the brakes and we go a bit deep. It's really not ideal, and I remember at that point I thought to myself, oh damn it, there's no way. But did you just see that? Did you just see that? Lightning went wide again, and he got another second. And I've just breathed out about 15 sighs of relief at this point, because I knew I'd won. Like, in fact, he went wide twice and gained another 1.75 seconds worth of penalty. And this is my point. This is my point, that pace now, like, is only, like, I can see now why I was driving so conservatively, because at the end of the day, Lightning may be picking up time on every single lap, but he is taking more risk, and with the new FRR system, if you take risk, you will be punished horrendously. And so it's over at that point. But on the stream, it wasn't really mentioned at all. To be honest, I think that they need to get a way to better represent when penalties have been given out, because that was just such a massive moment in the race. In reality, the fact that Lightning went wide, that changed the victory completely. It was just one mistake, and that is the difference between getting 20 and getting 15 points. And so it needs to be better represented, I think. But as we come onto the hangar straight now, I was smiling. I remember when Lightning went wide, I remember in our team communications, I just went, oh guys, Lightning's got another penalty, and I was just beaming, and I could tell that when I said that, it was like the entire mindset of the entire team had changed, because they knew that this battle at the front, which in the context of how the point system works, is the most important one. And so it was just great, and so my 2 teammates ended up getting really good results in this race as well, and you can see I was celebrating even though I was in second. And yeah, it turns out though that actually where is it, because of the race time, you can see there it's Lightning was just over a second slower. In fact, he would have just about won if he had just kept his 1 second penalty, but because I weaved on the line, I expect I probably would have just taken it, arguably, with even just the 1 second penalty. But either way, it was a really good race, a really, really good result, and I'm so glad that the penalties worked out as they did. Because at the end of the day, like, we did really well in this round. But I hope you enjoyed, and I also hope you enjoyed just this much more relaxed style of video. Let me know if you did. Let me know if you didn't as well, because I am if you can't tell, I'm really experimenting with formats here to work out what is best and what is the most entertaining style. And I feel like this is the most informal, it's the most casual, and it's the one that I can get across the most casual information about what I was thinking. It's not scripted at all. And yeah, I really do genuinely hope you enjoyed. And either way, I will speak to you next time with the final race. Yeah, all the best and see you next time.